I'm going to give Pepsi some free advertising during the stream.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mondays in the Mortal Realms. Steven and I back. Oh, yeah, the table's extra creaky today.
It's like I mentioned it, and now all of a sudden I woke the table up.
Yeah, Steve and I are back after a couple of weeks off, but not for too long. We won't be here again next week because of the Nova Open. Yep. You've also got a trip as well.
Yep.
But we will be back in 2 weeks. So let's just that out of the gate real quick.
Just keeping people hungry.
Just a schedule.
Just we're denying them our beautiful faces so that they want them more. That's the theory.
Exactly. So what we want to talk about today, a few things. We do want to talk Nova Open. And we do want to talk New City stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's actually jump in to New City stuff. If you have been following along with what's going on, they released this past week in the lead up to the pre-order, which I did get a box.
You did?
I did.
Oh, very cool.
Apparently there was a queue.
Really?
Yeah, so I was like all excited to get my box Friday night. I was like, I don't think I'm going to need to set an alarm. It's like 10 a.m. It's fine. I'll be fine. I'm not worried about this.
Yeah.
And then Meg has been out of town. And then at about 12:30, I was in here doing some work. And I get a message from Megan. It's like, hey, the Cities pre-orders are up. I'm like, crap. I forgot to get it. So I was like, I'm in trouble. I'm not going to get one. But I just got one. It was very easy. Oh. And I got the new the Seraphon box. Since that's the only way anyone's ever getting a Carnosaur.
Oh, the
ever again.
The Vanguard.
Vanguard.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know. Saray weirdly said that he went on to just check the site for something, and there's a queue. They had a queue to get.
Yeah, I think they've been starting to introduce that kind of thing after they've had. I think with Indomitus they had loads of scalping issues where people were buying loads of boxes and sell them on the secondary market. So I think they've been slowly introducing a queuing system. I know they do it more for the limited edition Black Library releases because they really go quick, but I think they've started doing it for more of the box sets and stuff to make sure people get them because they want people to have them.
Of course, yeah, rather than just all be sitting on an entire round of here we go, it's on eBay now.
Yeah.
And now you can buy it on eBay.
Yeah, it sucks. People should be able to buy the thing if they want it and they shouldn't have to go to eBay and pay, way more for it just because someone got on there and bought a bunch.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I have to say we'll get to this in a second. I've been buying models. I've been buying models for Cities now for a couple months.
Yeah.
Slowly. And I've been kind of I'm gonna on a kind of a wing and a prayer, hoping that model for a while wasn't gonna go away, and I got lucky with the he's over here with the Griffin.
Yep.
And I've got a Celestial Huracanum, and I got the steam tanks, so I got lucky with those and the battle mages. Actually, I didn't buy anything that. Then they released that article that said, "Hey, just so you know."
Yeah, you voided all of it, which
was
very
nice.
Savvy.
I was very lucky. I was very lucky. But it has then been interesting. Now I went back to get a Celestial Huracanum because I was like, I think I might get a second one because I'd like to get the make a Luminarch of Heish, the laser.
Oh right, yeah, right. the other build.
The other build. And it's now on eBay, it's $100. When I got mine, it was 50, 55, 60. Yeah.
Yeah, I picked up the old Skink Start Collecting box before the Seraphon stuff came out because I had an inkling they might start disappearing.
And lo and behold, that was a great box.
It's a great box. Yeah, it's really good, and everything in there is really usable still. So. Well done you for being savvy.
Well done, but interesting then to see that happen. I'm looking up here at what I've got, and I don't know why it's a box. It's not that interesting for me to keep looking at it. It's not even actually the box for the Celestial Huracanum. It's one of those white Citadel boxes that just in marker says Celestial Huracanum.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I have that.
It's funny, just to peer behind the veil of this kind of production. There's just a wall of product that we just look at while we're doing these things. Just, yeah.
Most channels would have that behind them.
That's true, yeah.
But we don't want to brag.
No.
So we put it on the other side and just look at it and talk about it.
Yeah, I also like the signed letter by Matt Rose apologising for the OBR book as well that you have framed. That's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, we're going to get there because that's still a lot to talk about. Okay, so listen, we were talking about this. I think this is pretty cool because they did release these articles that they go a little in depth, and you were literally just saying you'd like them to do more of these. Now, that said, sometimes I feel as if when I'm reading these that it's interesting, but they really don't go as deep as I'd almost want them to go.
Yeah, it's interesting. They pick 5 key topics that they want to talk about, like the development of the city's range and the book, and you know, I think all the topics are really interesting.
Right.
But yeah, they don't go very deep, and I feel like a lot of this information they could have. You know, I look back at how they did the Sisters of Battle release that was a kind of similar vein where they announced it really early and then they did updates. But I feel like we got way more information about the Sisters than we did Cities.
Yeah.
And it feels like now they're putting it all on there. Which again, I would hate to be negative about these things because I love these articles. I love peering behind the curtain and learning about how these products are made. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it would have been nice to see them go deeper and you know, discuss maybe even some things that didn't go well and some things that maybe they ended up not doing or things that they pivoted on to kind of get an insight into what the iterative process is as they develop these new ranges.
The kind of key theme that starts here in the very first article, which is the designing the model process.
Mm-hmm.
They bring it up here is that they want to talk. It's about want to focus on what humans are like. What are everyday people?
Yeah,
like.
regular folks.
Yeah. And so it's a lot of that. They talk about in this first article. They talk about the size, which I thought was interesting, and that's what this is. They're saying because we haven't really had a human scale.
Yeah.
And this is sort of interesting. First, we like we said in the past, we really try to avoid spoilers, but we do know from the box, and this is now public information, that these regular humans are back on 25mm bases.
Yeah.
I thought those bases were going away. I thought we'd never see a 25 again.
Aren't the Mortec Guard are on 25s, aren't they?
But they're old. That's an old kit.
I guess.
Same with Witch Elves. Same with.
Oh, you mean from 3rd edition onwards?
Right. I didn't think we'd see anything new.
Right.
And new Guard in 40K are on 28.5.
Right. Okay.
So I thought that this base size was gone forever. Brett and I have talked a lot about it. Folks, I don't know what you guys at home think, or if anything in 40K recently has come out with this. I don't think so.
No, 40K definitely has skewed more, making things bigger bases.
Of course, it makes sense because of range. This means that a 20-man, you know, or you're going to fight in 2 ranks, which is big in Sigmar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how the metric system works. And I don't know if you do because you're British. And it seems like British people kind of do. It seems like you guys are better than Americans. But not as great as like a German.
No, that's true. No. Also, I'm warped because I lived in Canada for a time and then coming here. So it's like Canada does things slightly differently.
They're like they're like a little bit of both.
Yeah, because like their roads are in kilometers. But then they do like measurements, and then I came here and I'm back to miles, which is what UK does, but a different system of measurement. Anyway, it's all very confusing. So
you don't really you just use your own system nowadays.
I do everything by tape measure inches, just basically. It's just my life of playing Warhammer games is just like, I just try and do everything measured in. How many inches on a tape measure is everything.
Yes, apparently, of course, there's this inch somewhere in inches between 25 and 28.5 millimeters. We now know that information.
Well, I think that probably all comes from, I'm sure there's an ancient design thing. You know, like the whole thing of like the reason Games Workshop boxes are the size they are is because that's how big the shelves used to be at the Games Workshop retail stores.
Oh, right.
It'll be one of those things, I imagine, where it's like the base sizes are X because of Y, and they just haven't ever like wanted to change it for some reason.
So here we are, the 25mm base is back, and they talk in this article about the size of an orc. Like, this is a brute and a Stormcast Eternal. And it's true, like, I actually haven't really thought about it, because even elves, like, witch elves the models are very tall.
Yeah.
They are on this size, but the first time I had an inkling of actually how small a human was the zombie kit.
Right, yeah.
When you put a zombie next to anything, it looks too small, almost. But then, it's a zombie. It's also been wasting away.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe also like the horns of our shoot. Those are see again. The horns of our shoot are humans. It's the Warcry band, Chaos Mortals. All those Chaos Mortals are on. Most of them 28.5.
Yeah, they're on slightly. So, even the ghouls, right? Even the ghouls are on like because the ghouls are from human size. Yeah, they're like human sized, really.
Truly shocked, but I guess I would say pleasantly surprised to see 25mm hanging around. I'll be honest. Yeah.
I think it gives them variety, and it's a tactical difference then between armies if there's different base sizes.
Yeah. Now I think the steel helms are the only thing in the range on that size. When you look at like one of these other pictures, you can see that the Fusiliers are. I'm pretty sure the Fusiliers are going to be on 30s.
32s, right?
Is it 32? Right.
30 or 32.
32. I'm quite positive they're going to be on 32s or 28.5.
Yeah, they look a fair bit bigger with the shield bigger, and everything.
Right? So anyway, there's a lot of talk about that. One of the big things they talk about in designing the miniatures is just sort of that they wanted the people to look kind of downtrodden but not defeated. Like you had to be able to root for these people. Which I don't know, I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
They talk about the Free Guild Marshal and how he's like, oh, the Free Guild Marshal. Actually, there's this really interesting blurb on him. They're like, the Cavaliers all look very like kind of stoic and their faces are covered because they're like purely mercenaries. But this guy, we wanted him to feel like he's like feeling the grief of being a human in the mortal realms.
Yeah.
So I guess they did a good job with that. This is a super cool model.
It's a great model. Yeah. This whole range is beautiful.
The range is amazing. They talk a lot about these guys as well. Oh, they talk about this guy on the left is the Knight, the Arch Knight, I think he's called. And they were like, they actually wanted to make him huge. He's almost the size of a Stormcast, but still not. They the article talks about put him up against a Stormcast guy. You'll see it.
And I bet he'd kick a Stormcast. But kick his teeth in.
Yeah, he'd probably destroy him. They also talk a lot about Talia, and there's kind of a reoccurring thing in these 5 articles is that so Talia is interesting. She is they put her she's like an everyday hero, right? She likes to play. She passes out cards and cigars to the other players. She likes to play cards with them. She's cool. She's cool general chick who's not trying to be all uppity, right?
Yeah, the soldiers love her.
Right, exactly. She's more like a sergeant or something than an officer. Anyway, there's a lot of articles of they talk about her missing her eye and stuff. I actually didn't know this. The reason the Hammer accuracy colors have changed, I didn't know they used to be blue and gold.
Okay,
so they've changed it to this color because they wanted a red and yellow and orange kind of city, which they didn't have. And rather than make a new one up, they made a story up, which is that, I guess we're kind of in the lore now. Okay, here we go. Okay. They made up basically, she overthrew the leadership. And that's why then they adapted these new colors. And these new colors, it's almost like French Revolution stuff.
Yeah.
These new colors are the colors of the revolution.
It's very actually as well, the whole, if there's a problem, they just deal with it. So their problem was our leaders aren't great, so we're just gonna get rid of them. It's
kind of
great.
Really
Cool.
It's kind of great. Here's where they talk about her a bit. They're good. They're good. They talk about the Manicore. Chaos players would be furious. I remember they talked. Did you read this? They talked about the Manicore. They talked about her being they're not sure what her deal is because why does she have this link to the Manicore, which is a chaos creature.
Yeah.
So I bet chaos players had mixed feelings. They actually kind of call out. They're yeah, this definitely belongs in the chaos book, but you guys didn't get it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Kind of.
Maybe that's why they don't talk about things they changed. Maybe that used to have a chaos lord on top of it, and we can't tell people that.
Yeah. Here we finally get, Meg still doesn't believe it, but we finally get some good artwork where you can see the post is coming out of the back of the ogre, not his head. Wait,
she thought it came out of his head?
Yeah, and the more she was messing with me about it, I knew it didn't. But she was like, look, every single time you look at this model, they don't have pictures of it, the actual model coming out of it. They don't show the back of this model, ever. And of course the Gargoylians. They talk a little bit more about them, although they already did an article on them. I'm trying to think what. Oh, this was kind of cool. The different, just the pictures are cool.
Yeah, this one goes pretty deep. I think this one's kind of interesting.
It was kind of interesting to read about I guess that was in the lore about the two cities. They talk a bit about Settlers Gain, which is the one up here, the one with the Lumineth.
In
Hysh, yeah. Yep. And they talk also, I think, about, is this it? The one with the Caradon Overlords, Tempests.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is a stacked transfer sheet.
It is.
That is a lot of transfers.
It is. I'm excited. Yeah. They have Tempest Eye. Yeah. I think. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really want to hit on. Oh, they talk a lot here in this. Again, it's the same thing. They talk about orders. It's a lot of like, a human one-on-one versus like anything going on in the mortal realms is like a goner, right? Maybe aside from like a goblin or something. Right?
Yeah.
Which I can pretty much confirm is probably true. And
except Stormcast.
Oh yeah, no, human versus Stormcast.
Brutally murder Stormcast.
A human will destroy a Stormcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, currently. So I really like the that as a theme, but they do hit on it a lot, and I will say it did feel a little repetitive. In the rules writing though, they talk a lot about that, like the orders, how the orders work.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very cool. I think they've got a really unique flavor to them. I think it's a good way of allowing an army of regular folks to be viable and hold their own tabletop. Again, I think very much similar to how the Guard work in 40k. They use overwhelming numbers and fire support to get the work done. I like how they're not trying to position this as like, oh, humans in the mortal realms are just better because they have to compete with all this. Like, no, they're just regular dudes and they're wielding regular weapons and they'll get killed by almost everything. But you band enough of them together, you give them some orders, you give them some decent firepower, and they'll do business.
Yeah. It's nice. I like the order sheet, which is what we're looking at right here now, the order templates. Hopefully I don't lose any of these.
Wow, that's actually, I've never seen the bottom part. That's quite a lot of tokens.
It's a lot of tokens. They give you a few of each. Yeah. You can't have more than 3 up at any one time.
I'm curious as how this army is going to function at a 2,000 point competitive level, because I feel like there's a lot of micromanagement you got to do, and I'm curious how fast this stuff will go in for players using it at a tournament setting where you only have 2.5 hours to play an entire game, and and you got to do all this stuff.
I'm thinking about that too, but I will say a few things about it. One is it doesn't have a lot of other crazy hero phase stuff. Now you could make a crazy magic army, but not really. I don't really think that it's like that anymore. Currently, that's the build. I played, his name was Aaron. I've played him a few times, and Megan played him as well at Old Town Throwdown, and he had an insane magic Cities of Sigmar army. You can still do that. Hollow Heart. But Hollow Heart has changed, and the other one, which is good at casting, I think is Settlers Gain, I want to say.
That makes sense.
Makes sense. It's Lumineth.
Yeah.
But their spells and stuff don't look like... And the units they have that cast magic don't really look like they're leaning into that, to me.
No.
I don't know. So I think your hero phases are going to be pretty brisk. I think this is going to be the big thing.
That's good.
Yeah. So very exciting. I know I'm pretty excited. Lots of cool models. I'm less excited, I have to admit. I am less excited for the priesty stuff. I didn't get any flagelants, I think they're called, right? The
flagellants, yeah.
I didn't get any. And see, that's another unit that I almost picked up, and I didn't. And now, because they're pretty much zombies.
Oh, right, okay.
I think they're not as good, and I don't think they quite have the same level of buffs. To even be battle line, you have to have Zenestra.
Right.
There's a keyword. There's a religious keyword to this. And not because I'm not a particularly religious person. I just don't think the Zenestra and Flagelants look like an exciting playstyle to me. So I probably won't go down that road anytime soon. It's a cool model. I'm sure Mega's going to want to paint it, but I'll probably hold off on picking her up.
Yeah, it's
She's quite good, though. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's an interesting model. I look at the command squad and I really wish they'd done. I love the diorama models that they do, and I really wish they just put all the command guys on a big base and just had like this is your command squad,
almost like your boy.
Yeah, like a human Catacross.
Yeah,
Just have all the boys on a base doing cool buff things.
Yeah.
I was like, that'd be fun, but I get why. But I think it would have been fun.
I'm really into this.
The blacksmith.
Yeah,
Magic blacksmith.
Yeah,
man.
I forget his name. Alchemite Forge something.
Yeah, he's very cool.
Comes in the box, so I'm excited about him. Yeah, and then the last one they had was just the painting. This is actually, I have to confess, the one I did not get to. I did not read this one, but that's okay because the pictures are cool.
This is an army that you can absolutely pour your heart and soul into and make look absolutely beautiful. Or you could probably do the bare minimum and it would still look good on a tabletop. I like that the army looks like it has that flexibility in terms of its as a hobby project.
Yeah.
It really does sort of say how much or how little do you want to do. And I think it will lend itself well to a lot of quick, easy styles. Like I think this army will love contrast. I think they'll really like contrast, but I think also you could do all this great detail and do all the weathering and make them look really battle worn. And I think there's going to be some beautiful display armies in 12 months time.
I think so too.
There's going to be some gorgeous armies of this.
This is cool that they did this.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah.
There are so many. There's 11 different sub-factions.
It's one thing that I really like about the AOS books that I know the 40k ones from at least the last edition didn't have is the painting and hobby sections. The AOS ones, I mean, some of them admittedly are just like copy pasta from the previous book, but still, they're all very good and very useful. So I hope this book has a big chunky section for all this stuff.
This is cool. This is a cool section. And I love that. And they do talk about how they were like, they wanted all the cities represented. So they were like, yeah, we're going to just have 11 sub-factions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Look, we do have a few super chats, a few folks to thanks. Thank you, Zesticle.
That's a great name.
It is a great name. He's been around. I hope I'm saying it right, because he's either trying to be funny with it, or he's not trying to be funny with it, and I'm just calling him that. This is a good question. This is a great question for Steven.
Oh, really?
What would you suggest for someone wanting to dip their toes into AOS? Any game modes like Combat Patrol from 40k to look into?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of options. You can play. I think it's now just collectively called Warhammer Underworlds. I always recall it Shadespire because that's the first version of it. Yeah. But that's a good entryway into. Do you like the setting? Do you like the models? It's a completely different play style, but it's more like a board game. But you get nice little war bands, lots of flavor. That one's pretty fun. And then there's kind of the middle of the road, which is Warcry, which is a bit more like Kill Team, where you've got 10, 15 models, and you're kind of a little war band, and everyone's got different abilities. Again, completely different rule set, but that's a lot of fun, and that's kind of a closer gateway because you're measuring distances, you're rolling dice, you're doing mechanics. It has skewed more chaos focused than it has everything else, but there's a few out there now. They kind of started to branch out, and I imagine, I assume we'll get a new edition or a new season of Warcry coming up, and I'm sure that will start branching out even more into non-chaos stuff.
I'm guessing we're going to get at least one Warcry Nova.
I think so.
But wait, I have a question for you about this.
Okay.
Now, I've noticed that actually this used to be a no-brainer to recommend how to get into. You'd recommend the skirmish game, but Necromunda, Kill Team, and 40k now Warcry Underworlds. In addition to there being like a few versions of it, none of them are actually. It's almost odd because none of them really have the same rule sets.
Yeah. And
I would say almost even. I don't know if I would say worse, but they less and less the models are even like. It's less and less now, and I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. Mixed feelings on this, but now it's like here's a war band, and you buy that war band. Okay, so like you're leaning towards Daughters of Cain. Cool. Well then, if you want to play Warcry, then get the Cat Knight Shadowstalkers.
Yeah.
Right. And you can use them in your army, but not a lot of armies like that. Like all the Slaves to Darkness ones, there's only a couple that people are really using. Some of them, the rules are very underwhelming. Not even necessarily in a competitive way, almost in like a flavorful way, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like they've pulled away from making a having that focus be that transition.
I would just think if it's truly like if it's truly dipping your toe into AOS or a war game, I would just not care about that side of it at all and not worry about what it's competitive or not, and just
of course
buy the models, do the painting, roll some dice, see if that sparks any joy, and then if it does, then look at okay, which of the armies do I think is the coolest, which one speaks to me, and then begin the journey to start building a proper force. Because I think if you start with okay, I want to play okay, what's good, and you're like trying to already min max, you're gonna deny yourself a lot of like hobby potential and options, because basically you're gonna get told okay, buy 4 of that unit, 2 of that unit, 1 of that hero, and you're missing. Most competitive armies don't use 60-70% of a range. They'll go okay, well, these are the good bits, ignore everything else. And I think when you're starting out, you want to just let yourself be a bit whimsical and kind of explore and just buy whatever takes your fancy and paint things up, and then ideally do it with a friend. I think that's always a big thing for if you're dipping your toe into anything like this. These games are designed to be played against someone, so getting another friend into it, going in it together, maybe buying a box set with 2 factions and then just throwing them at each other and seeing how it works, because then if you don't like it, you're not invested that much and you can kind of walk away.
I will say this to Zesticle, if you're probably coming from a 40K context, so I will say this. Sigmar is a little smaller scale. It has upped a little bit recently.
Yeah.
We had a lot of point drops recently, like pretty much game wide.
Yeah.
But it is overall, I want to say 20% smaller than.
Yeah, I mean you can do
40K.
You can do armies that are as small as 5 models, as big as 100 models. It's kind of, and then anything in between. I like armies that are about 20 models, and I always try and do armies within that range. So yeah, but that doesn't mean the cost of investment is low, even in those small armies.
Umi, who's one of our mods, points out that he actually literally went. He wasn't super feeling his Tau in 40K, and he was like, "How can I quickly get into AOS?" So he just did a Dragon Rider Stormcast army in about a week, and the train for it in about a week. He just cranked all of it out. So. Zesticle, I think hit me up in the Discord. I'm doing some traveling the next few days, but hit me up, and there's a lot of quick ways to get into Sigmar.
And Path to Glory is a good one, because you don't that's like it's a built-in escalation league.
It's the narrative.
It encourages building up. A lot of local game stores, they'll do escalation leagues that are ongoing. So there's lots of ways.
And the other thing I would say finally about that is Christmas boxes are going to come out soon. I imagine a lot of those Christmas boxes are close to 1,000 points.
Oh, yeah. Right. And they're all pretty good.
They're usually good.
There's very few that are like... Okay, they might not be fully optimal, and they are like 50% of probably what you're going to need. But
which is good in a way, like you were saying. Good, yeah. It's good, right?
But everything in them is usually usable. I'm trying to think the last few... every Christmas I and ah about buying a few just to put away in case I ever want to do the army, because they are incredibly good value for what you get, and they're always units you want.
So for context, I bought 2 of
we're looking back at the stock
looking back
now.
Oh no, it's right here.
Peering
so
into the stock.
I bought 2 of the Bone Reapers Christmas boxes.
Yeah, which is amazing.
That's it. That's the army. And then I had to buy. I bought Arkin. He's up there. That was down the road. And I think I bought one more character or something.
Yep.
And that was pretty much it. And,
that's an especially good one.
Yeah.
The Soulblight one they did was also very good.
I think if you bought 2 of those, you'd have... And by the way, when I say I bought 2 Bone Reaper ones, that was a 2,000 point army.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, some of them are really good.
Okay, we also want to thank Captain Mannerings for the gifted membership.
Thank you.
He's trying to snipe somebody. I don't know if he got him. And then we've got Zone Nasty. Been eyeballing that 1,000 point AOS tournament on Sunday at Nova, as I assume I'm going to drop 40k GT Saturday night. Having trouble making a list for gets at 1k. So restrictive.
Yeah, 1k is hard.
1k is tough. After we just told Zesticle to get excited about 1k.
Well, 1k getting into a game is fine.
Good,
1k tournaments at a competitive level, it's really dicey, because you can do some really powerful... the game is not balanced at 1,000 points at all. You can take some very silly things.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some of my armies and who does poorly at 1k, which I think is the Beastclaw Raiders.
Yeah.
It's just not enough models. Although, then again, my opponent has so little. It's if I would just have 2
I think actually it's... Yeah, because if you can't deal with that, it's over.
So I don't know.
Yes, you could just take as many squigs as you can fit into 1,000 points and just run across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I would
It's
take
like,
a Mangler.
How many points is a Mangler? Like 240?
One thing I think to think about when you do 1,000 in Sigmar is maybe don't reinforce things often.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like a Mangler, Loon Balsam Mangler. Can you get a second Mangler and then 2 Born Grout Bounders? What are you at?
No, I'd do the 2 bosses, the Mangler, and then a couple of units of the Knights.
Wait, the two bosses on Squig?
Yeah. And
one
then
Mangler boss?
One Mangler boss, and then a couple of units of the Knights, and then as many Squig herds as I can get in after that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I'd worry less about like the buffing, like the
I just go in all Squigs all the time. No magic, no priests, just going across the board.
I feel like and this is stacks brings up Scuttle Boss on Giant Spider is amazing at 1K. Maybe I don't know about that, but I do know that.
No, he is because he's really hard to kill. He's really hard to kill.
Because he has there's like a special only on 5s or something.
Yeah, he's really hard to get rid of.
Yeah. So the thing is that there are a lot of units that you wouldn't look at 2,000 points that become actually really exciting at 1,000 points.
Yeah.
For example, Daughters of Cain, Doomfire Warlocks become very exciting at 2,000 points, because especially with their points drop, because they.
You mean at 1,000?
At 1,000, excuse me.
Yeah.
They become exciting, I think.
Yes.
Because they've got good movement.
Mm-hmm.
They can shoot.
Yep.
Their shooting's okay.
Yeah.
Their fighting's okay.
They're a wizard.
And they're a wizard.
Yeah.
So they do a little bit of everything. At 2,000 points, you'll just fill all the... You don't need that, like, bard at that point. That jack of all
How many points are they now?
I think they're... Somebody maybe can check me. I think they might be 5 for 140 or 150.
That's good. That's a good price point.
Yeah. They were 180.
Especially just for taking objectives, because they're, like, lightning fast. Like, you have 2 units of those just on your flanks. Yeah.
Yeah, they might be a little more. They might. I don't know. It's between I want to say 170 and 140. It's somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So anyway, yeah, like that's.
Marathi also fits into 1,000 points.
No, see, no. You really can't. I guess you could do her in two witch elves.
Yeah, just really cheap units.
It's just Marathi at that point.
Yeah,
really.
well, that's all you need. What's 1,000 points that you gonna do to Marathi?
That's true. You have big and little Marathi. That's pretty much it.
That's the world of 1,000-point AOS.
Yeah.
Someone takes a bunch of squigs, someone takes Marathi.
Yeah, actually, do they have Zelnasty? Just add us. Do they have any? I haven't looked at this. Do they have any other restrictions?
They might put restrictions in. My like house ruling for 1,000-point games is no named characters. Like
often good.
Just keep it to generic heroes, and I think you avoid a lot of the pitfalls.
Unless it's like one of the name characters that's just like not that good.
Oh yeah, sure. If you want to take a random on foot like vampire, one of the 10
like
on foot named vampire.
Like oh no, but if
I'd be like, yeah, sure, okay.
No, it's not the worst idea. Okay, well listen. The other thing we want to talk about before we moved on to talking a little bit about lists today is we want to say we know that. Back to Warcom for a minute. We know that there are going to be reveals because we already we that's always happens in Nova. We got this guy. Steven thinks this is an AOS guy, and not a 40k guy. I don't know.
I mean, it's got a little tail thing that looks very fantasy. It doesn't have any augmented parts. Like the squigs usually have some kind of bits on them, like where they've replaced bits. So yeah, my money's on AOS for this thing.
It's interesting. We were just saying before stream that Gloomspike gets squigs, not even Moon Clan, but specifically squig stuff. And Soulblight Gravelords have just really gotten a lot of attention from the AOS studio in the past 18 months.
Yeah, they definitely like modeling squigs and vampires. That is 2 things that they enjoy making a lot.
So let me ask you this from an AOS perspective, because they chatted about this. They chatted about this on the 40k show, Grimdark Lunch, John and Saray, earlier today. What are you hoping for your AOS reveals?
Well, hoping for. I don't know really. I'm not really hoping for anything because I think. But what do I think they'll show?
What do you think? Do like a mix.
Okay.
What do you think? Hope.
What do I think? Hope.
Yeah.
I think we'll see the whatever a new incarnate. I think they'll show off
Okay.
Incarnate,
Okay.
and probably the next book in the series.
I think the next book and Incarnate. We've said we think an Incarnate's coming out in this series.
At
so-
least one.
At least
I
one.
wouldn't surprise me if there's more than one, but I think we'll get one for sure. Apparently, we're gonna get some more Gloomspite Git Squigs models, which
Yeah,
I don't understand, but okay.
Okay, here's a squig.
Yeah,
with a
I guess they
rock.
just every book some Gloomspite Gits get a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, beyond that, I don't know. I mean, I think they've alluded to the fact that maybe the Auric War clans are going to get more stuff to go with that big pig, the big war
They
pig.
did show, didn't they show a...
They show a new hero,
a new football.
So I wonder if we might see some more from that. If they're getting a kind of pseudo second wave.
Yeah. Sleepy
Uh,
Gary, who we know says flesh eater quartz.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would be the right time because if they're going to release them, it's going to be around Halloween. So they'd be about, 6 to 8 weeks
Do they
out.
care about Halloween?
No, but I think
Do you guys do? Is that like a UK thing? Are you guys like Halloween people?
It is now. I think we've like, via osmosis, cultural osmosis,
You
it's
realize
become
that
a thing now.
You realize that's an awesome idea to have a holiday focused around dressing up for adults and dressing up for kids and candy and partying.
Yeah,
like
it's-
in the middle of the fall. Like,
yeah,
why not?
it's
right?
definitely not as big a thing as it is here by any means. But it definitely does happen.
I went to a college on the East Coast called Kutztown University, which is was like voted frequently throughout the 90s and early 2000s like the #1 Halloween town. And I guess it was okay. I guess it was fun. I don't know.
Well, you started high and then you came down then.
I mean, I was there for Halloween and it was cool. I was in college. I probably would have always thought wherever I was in college for Halloween was cool.
True, that's true.
Right. So
When I lived on the East Coast, I always wanted to do the drive down to like Salem at Halloween. So apparently that's
oh yeah,
that's a
yeah.
good
You
time.
see, you'd think it'd be that. You
Yeah.
think like that would be the cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
but yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah,
Flesh Eater Quartz?
I could see
Yeah.
Flesh Eater Quartz showing off maybe that range. Maybe that will be the big thing that they show off. Kind of the new book, like the new range. But that I wonder if that'll depend on what the next book in the series is about.
What models are they replacing in that range? They're all pretty okay.
I think they're adding to the range. I don't think they're
nothing needs to be
replacing.
replaced
But it's a
here.
very small range. It's a very, very small range for considering you look at all the other Death factions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe apart from Bone Reapers, but they're also very new. I mean, I would love to see a second wave of Bone Reapers if we were talking hopes and dreams.
Shooting archer.
I want my
Archer and
archers.
Mortar.
Yeah, I want like a Bone Giant
Do
equivalent.
you-
I want a big mammothy
Listen,
thing.
it is hard to do that when you're making a foot vampire.
No, I know. Yeah, I know.
You're
maybe
making-
maybe the Bone Giant could be made of foot vampires.
And you're making a foot vampire for Soulblight, or releasing an entire family lineage of the Virkros dynasty.
Look, I don't know. I'm just saying, if their goal is to make every living character that's ever been turned into a vampire a model, I'm just like, all right, that's an ambitious goal, but maybe there's other ranges. But yeah, I mean, what I would love to see, because there was always those rumors that the Bone Reapers were getting another wave.
And the Mortark. Stax brings up the Mortark. What's his name? You knew his name.
Abarash, something like
yeah,
that.
yes,
I'd put money on him getting a model and being the final Mortark, Mortark of Hunger or something. And I could see them showing off that range, or at least the start of the range. I imagine they'll do what they did with Seraphon and Slave to Darkness, where it'll be like the new models will come in a sort of FOMO box for Halloween, and then the rest of the range will follow. But I think it depends on where it falls in the storyline of those new Dawnbringer books.
Right.
If they're the
Which we've
second
talked
or the
about,
third
which we've
book.
talked about, yeah.
Because they won't want to reveal it if the next book focuses on destruction, which, looking at this and the orc stuff and the big pig, maybe book 2 is going to be destruction centric, and then book 3 might be the more new death stuff. So
Yeah.
that's where I'd put safe money on all those.
Yeah, see, Assistant Ref makes the same joke I made earlier today. Vampire and Foot is the new Primaris Lieutenant of AOS.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Why?
I don't know. I guess because vampires are cool. Like, making cool vampires is fun, and like you can put a lot of character into a single foot guy, and just because you're a vampire, unlike a Primaris Lieutenant, just because you're a vampire doesn't mean you have to look like all the other vampires. So they can do a lot of different things
That's
with
true.
them.
That's true.
You look at the Virkos, and then you look at the Von Karsteins and how very different they look. So, yeah, I get it. I just
Yeah,
She doesn't need to be anymore.
Yeah, or at least one every few years, maybe.
Yeah. You know, Skaven haven't had a new model in what feels like
Lots
forever.
Of people could handle.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that out of the way,
well, actually, one more thing before we move on.
Yeah.
Do you like this anvil squig?
I need to see what's going on.
Really? You need to see if there's more to this story, like a goblin actually making weapons on its head.
Yeah. Oh, you just made me excited.
He's a little anvil squig.
I need to see what's happening. It's called a rockbrow squid, and it says it's hardened. It has a permanent headache, and the only way it can cure its headache is by repeatedly bashing its head into things. Which sounds great.
Like a rock gut squig.
We're gonna get squigs that do impact hits, like mortals on 6 on the charge. So.
Oh, I was just thinking squigs need more impact hits on charges.
Well, here you go.
Yeah.
This is what that's gonna be.
I mean, if it's gonna be a unit of them, if this is like a Gobblepalooza but for squigs, sign me up. I want 5 different weird squigs that do weird different things. If this is gonna be, hey, you've got 10 anvil squigs with a little, I'm like, no, I don't care.
I don't need anvil squigs.
No, like, what are they? Are they gonna be like a screen because they've got a ward save because they're big rocky squigs, or like what is the deal?
Yeah.
But if it's a Squigapalooza, I'm in.
You're in. Welcome, digital designer, to Lab Mandrill. Are we seeing you, digital designer, at Nova? Are you gone? I forget. I don't know if I know if you're going or not, but I hope so. Okay, speaking of Nova, let's chat Nova.
Yeah.
You're not going.
I'm not going.
I'm going, and I need Steven's sage advice on Nova. So what I want to talk about are what I've been doing after Old Town and now going to Nova is kind of looking about and I wanted to see like what lists am I seeing. And this is actually, I have to say, for as good as the new General's Handbook I believe is, as exciting as it is, this is actually sort of probably one of the tightest meta clumpings I've seen in Sigmar since I've started playing. I feel like we've been through a lot of time where you could see anything at... I know early on Gargants were big. I want to say there was like a big Gargant run kind of early on in 3.0. Makes sense.
Yeah, Stormcast did well because the dragons.
Yeah. But as far as right now, there are really, I'm going to say 3-4-ish armies with fairly tight builds happening.
All right. Okay.
In the meta.
A couple of things.
Yeah. Let's before we talk about that.
First off, I don't know why you want my sage advice, because I am middle of the road at every event I go to, and you are being invited to an invitational. So I don't know what advice you're going to me for. Just
give good advice. You give good advice.
But on the army
I never
side,
beat you in any game we play either. So
that's true. So if I could play an event where I just get to play you, then I will win.
You're just not going to these events. If you go to these events, you would.
No, you have to be my opponent every round, and then I will win. But the list thing, yeah, I think the transition from book to book, I think this is the first time it's ever been very clear that 4 or 5 armies have risen immediately to the top.
Yeah.
But I think every book we've always landed in a place where after some time there's like 4 or 5 proper lists that you have to build to counter if you're building anything. And if you don't, you're just putting yourself up for failure. And I don't think I wouldn't say that that's an unusual thing for this book. I just think the transition from the last book to this one, that has happened very quickly, where those armies have really shot up and sort of dominated the tables, because the transition period usually is such a hard reset that everything that was a meta has gone out the window. And this, it doesn't feel like that's been the case.
It was also, to be fair, it's also at least three of them, and I think the top 3, which is Soulblight, Bone Reapers, and Seraphon, were all very new books too. They went from and quite strong when they came out in a way that was like, you felt like you could do a lot of different things with the books, but that's sort of the issue is, if there is an issue, which I don't know that there is, and I don't know that it'll last, of course it won't, right? But that those 3 books have yielded, in some ways, interacting with each other. in trying to ruin each other's lives.
Yeah, but I think people have cottoned on to like 3 very specific ways of playing those armies.
Yes.
But I think the great thing about those books is that there's actually loads of play in all those books. People aren't just gravitating to it yet. Like, I think give it 6 months, I think you'll see just as many Croak Slan bombs as you'll see Allsaurus running across the board.
We have started to see this actually. Yeah. Even at Old Town Throwdown, a Coalesce list did very well.
Yep.
So here's the deal. And some of these lists are from people, and some of them we're going to come back to this one. Some of them are more just like overall things. Tom Guan took 2nd place at Old Town Throwdown. He's going to be the Invitational, and I'm looking at his list here. This is really the Uppsala Zombies list, and I think he took Uppsala Zombies and just leaned into it even more with the addition, not just of Goroslav. I think you always see who just helps you bring zombies back without the Soul Blight roll.
Yeah.
And Targilius is the one I haven't really seen people take, which is 5-up ward. And he's a spellcaster, so
the 5-up ward is really good. I mean, man, look at those corpse carts need to double in price, I think, or something like 80 points for what they do is staggeringly good.
Is 80 points even right? I think they're 70. I have them listed as 70 on Gavin's.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, it's different though because of the one in the.
Is it?
Yeah, because you buy it as a pack, so it's different. But yeah, I mean, Tom's an incredible player. I've never actually had the pleasure of playing Tom. Again,
either.
Going back to the point of I'm never at a table high enough to play Tom.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tom's a phenomenal player, arguably one of the best players in the world, and I think the way he's refined this list down to. It's really good. I really like that he's gone Virkos and not the Legion of Blood, which I think is where a lot of people lean.
Yeah.
I think this is a much smarter play.
He has 10 free wolves.
He does have 10 free wolves.
10 more wolves in this list.
Yeah. There's even more bodies.
And wolves are the worst. Like wolves are the worst.
Wolves
offenders.
Are fantastic.
They're so good. They're the worst offenders.
The amount of times I get caught out by wolves where I'm like, okay, I've got a battle tactic and I've got to kill the wolves, and then the wolves like just get out of the way and just make my life miserable with that stupid piling. Anyway, my trauma aside, I think the only thing here with this list is that you have to be, I think, to do yourself a favor and also be respectful to your opponents. You have to be a player at someone like Tom's level to play this as probably, because that is a lot of models, and you better be hustling with that army if you're playing these games. I would not worry about someone like Tom playing this army, but don't think you can take this list, copy paste it, and go to an event because
and finish in 2 hours.
You need a chess clock.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Movement trays maybe are a move here.
Yep, anything you can do to speed up. I would, if you're going to take this list to a big event, I would practice as much as possible with just getting this movement phase down, because you are gonna make some people unhappy, and you're not gonna give people a good time if you are playing this and you are slow.
And zombies aren't fast.
No,
right? So you're moving a lot of models, very little distance.
Yeah.
No, Tad, I'm not going back to spiders. I'm sticking with Beast Claw Raiders. And I'm wondering if my Beast Claw Raiders can get through this many zombies.
Well, we talked about this.
I need to smash corpse cards.
My advice was to destroy everything around the hordes of zombies.
Which is easier said than done, of course, right?
True, but you can, what do we call it? The Tokyo Drift over the zombies.
Over things. But that's once per turn. And yes, I will absolutely pick whatever I Tokyo Drift up into.
And obviously someone like Tom is not going to leave his characters or corpse carts exposed to you in any way that's profitable for you. So
yeah. He didn't bother to put Triumph. He's at 2,000 points. I like that. That's a style.
Yeah.
I'm going to start doing
that. I don't need a Triumph. Tom is the Triumph.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
Just being Tom.
Yeah, he's his own
So
Triumph.
I'm excited. I actually very little ever talked to Tom, like just once briefly in the middle of our game, in the middle of my game with Roberto. So I look forward to getting to know him a little bit better and seeing how he does at the Invitational.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's one list I really hope I don't have to deal with, if I'm honest.
Just don't do well in your games and you'll be fine.
That might not be hard. Gavin won Old Town Throwdown. He's also going to be at Nova. He's not in the Invitational. But here is his list. This, you were excited because you play something kind of similar to this.
This is inspired. Yeah. I love this list. The only difference between... When you first showed it me, I was like, what is the difference here? What am I not seeing? And really, the only difference is he has the Regiment of Renown with the Corpse Cart and the Zombies, which I think in this list specifically is incredibly useful because... Bone Reapers really struggle with bodies because all their units are expensive and we only take expensive things. And so having a unit of 20 zombies with a 5-up ward because of the corpse cart really gives you a sticky unit to go and sit on an objective with. And then it brings all the other. It's got the super best friends, Katakros and Arkan. It's got a big blob of 6 Immortis Guard, which I love to see, and the 2 units of Death Riders. So yeah, it does not surprise me that he won Old Town with this list. It's fantastic.
You had 3 Stalkers for about the same points, but
yeah,
I do have to say that the Stalkers are like this scary element that hangs away from the brick.
Yes,
because the Riders are not scary.
No, they're okay on a charge, but they're not going to go into your big hammers and do anything.
So he is sacrificing this slingshot kind of nasty. Okay, you're off to the side trying to move around my brick and be cute. So I do have this, but even with you had one side that you're if it was 6 Stalkers, maybe you're giving up, but.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do it, but 3 maybe.
No, it's a great swap because I think again, we always say how do you win games of Sigmar is you take points and you score points, and so the fact that the zombies are great at that, so it's like, and the 5-up ward, I mean, they're so hard to shift. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic change.
Yeah,
if I was going to Nova, I would 100% steal this.
This by the way, this is no Myriad.
So yeah, also that.
This is the counter to Seraphon, right? This is that had enough, and Soulblight, but I think Seraphon more. Soulblight are okay.
And there's overall, this is going to do very well against Teclis and Luminef. Like I think Tzeentch, taking Null Myriad, Tzeentch, it's such a counter to Magic.
Yeah.
That whereas the other sub factions, and I've thought about doing this, but I never pulled the trigger. But like you think about the other sub factions, they give you cool benefits. None of them are terrible. I don't think anymore.
They're all good.
They're all pretty good, but this one, it's such a like binary choice of like, oh, you're a magic army. Well, this does so much against you.
Yeah, it does nothing against my army, but it will ruin a lot of people's days. I actually don't love it as a design space, but at the same time, it is there to do what it kind of is doing, which is saying you might want to think twice about taking Croak and Slann, and not taking some Crocs, throwing some Croxagores. Yep. Throwing a Carnosaur in there, you might need to be able to do damage in the melee phase or something, right?
This is how healthy metas exist. There always needs to be checks and balances, and if you imagine a world where there was no Null Myriad in the game right now, think about how that would change the top armies right now. I think you would see many more Magic dominant forces up there would be top of the list because Null Myriad is that thing keeping them in check.
Yeah. Okay, so the other 2 things we're seeing a lot of are Seraphon, Croak, Slann, Starmaster together, Astrolith Bearer. There's a billion Astrolith Bearers in the Mortal Realms at this point.
There is. There must be so many. Every other Saurus is promoted to here's a stick. Good job.
Now, meanwhile, there's a depletion of Skink Wizards because they're all being teleported out into the front lines of the enemy army and having Croak's will blasting through their eyeballs into the enemy.
Look, you're Lord Croak. You've lived for aeons, right?
You get to send
the little skink wizard is you can just breed another pool of them next day. Like it's good allocation of resources to get those poor skinks murdered.
So lots of mortal wounds from Magic. Kind of hard to kill Croak. I see 10 and 5 Saurus Guard. Some people do the 10, some people stick with the 5. And maybe the stupidest thing about this list, the thing I love the least, is that it just collects an insanely ridiculous amount of summoning points to bring in more units. This was really potent against my spiders because I had so many spells.
Yeah,
and some of them went off and some of them didn't, but I was just giving them spell points.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird meta counter to other Magic armies. Like, oh, you're a Magic army? Well, now I just get to double down and do even more things with my Magic. It's kind of it's like an I win more effect. Whereas Null Myriad is like you're sacrificing some things to gain other effects. Whereas that is like, oh great, you're also a casting army. Me too. I'm gonna get to summon way more stuff now.
Yeah.
Because that's why you don't see Raptidon chargers in the list because you just make them.
Yeah, I did see somebody bring 5, but you're right.
They're amazing though. Like you guarantee that is what people are summoning. They are unbelievably good, but you just don't put them like demons. You don't put them in the list.
People are also doing the stupid Mortal Wound Bomb.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Which
it's a really good list.
It's nasty.
It's hard to argue with this list.
So I do have to say I'm feeling decent against all of these 3 with my Beast Claw Raiders. I think I can put a lot of pressure on all 3 of these lists and ruin their day, and an early double turn is lights out for this list.
So what's your big play against the Croak Bomb?
I'm just gonna run at it and smash and kill everything.
Okay.
and like that sounds funny, but that will work here, right?
Yeah.
The
Tensaurus Guard are not gonna.
They're not gonna last. The Tokyo Drift is going to, if they leave an opening, it's good. They kind of have to unless they want to sit at the back of the board.
Yeah, there's no way to not have an opening in the army. Like I've played a variant of it, and you just don't have enough bodies. Like to
it really doesn't.
Anything.
It really
it's
doesn't.
Really
Nor does No Myriad.
No.
So not that I necessarily want to Tokyo Drift into Kagakros, but I'll Tokyo Drift into Nerdo. What's his name?
Arkham.
Arkham for sure.
Yeah, I mean Arkham's got like crazy movement though, so I don't think.
I can kill him. I can kill him.
Oh yeah, you totally kill him.
If I can Tokyo Drift into him, I can kill him. Right?
Yeah, I just think if you smart with position, because Arkham doesn't need to be anywhere near.
Like, he doesn't, or he's going to be near their Mortis Guard and he's going to pass it off. Anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. You stick the 6 Mortis Guard now. You can just put them in a big line. As when we played again, you stick them in a big line across the middle, and you put everything that you care about next to it, and doesn't matter what you hit into.
But they can't survive. 6 Mortis Guard can't survive, especially if they don't get their 4 mortal. But really, they can't survive 5 stone horns.
Oh no, not if you get
or 4 stone.
No,
horns.
I mean if you're charging 5 or 4 into anything, I would argue that thing is dead.
But they're good. They're a good, nice, like you say. The way people play them, they stand right in the front, and they're gonna have to take that charge. Yep. So, the final one that I played 3 games of in the BAO is still hanging around, as Tad has mentioned. I think it was Tad bringing up what he's seeing a lot of is Khorne. Khorne's weird.
Yeah, this is surprising to me.
It is, I know, but they are good against the Magic right now. They're good against the Magic.
They're good against the Magics.
Because they have a lot of denies. My army actually is no deny unless they take a heroic action to do it. I'm just literally ignoring a Magic and just pretending like it's fine. I'll live.
Play like a dwarf army.
Yeah. This army has a lot of anti-magic.
Yeah,
Slaughter Priest
like,
has a deny.
They're like a weird control army.
Flesh Hounds have denies. Yeah, and that's what it is. And actually, I played them and I was shocked. I was like, oh, this is going to be a smack fest in all 3 of my games. I'm like, I'm going to be fighting, and it's going to be like who's better, ogres or Khorne? Who's like beatier? Who's smashier in combat? Yeah. The answer is definitively ogres.
Yeah.
Khorne is not. I was not impressed, but they have so many cute little irritating tricks.
Yeah.
It's like this is perfect for the Chaos army that wants to be a destruction army. They're like kind of smashy, but really they're like hero face move. Like they're just so weird.
It's an interesting design space that they ended up pushing them into. Which is, I don't think anyone would have been like, oh, this is what Khorne are going to play like, but it's fun to see it.
It is.
And it's hard to counter, honestly. They have so many little tricks up their sleeve. It's very hard to... I mean, I guess that's why you're seeing them so often. But I think they're also just a fun army. Yeah. They're also just fun to push around. Like, they're a cool army. And
they're good games, too. Like, those 3 games, one was against Alex Gonzalez, who we had a freaking really close, amazing game. One was against this local guy, Eddie, who's super good. He had 5 Bloodthirsters.
Yeah, I play Eddie a bunch. Eddie's great.
Who had 5 Bloodthirsters. And the other one, I can't remember his name. He's local. He just kind of showed up at the BAO. Super cool guy. That game was my last game, and I totally blew it right away. Turn 1, I was like, all right, you win. But some really good games with Khorne, too. I think they're actually, weirdly, a very balanced, fun army to play against.
Yeah. And I think
their tricks aren't that bad. There's
just a lot of them.
Right. It's a lot of them, and they're like enough at late game. You're like,
Yeah, it definitely does. They all add up to swinging in their favor. But I wonder if maybe the reason we're seeing them is because a lot of people love Khorne as like an army. Yeah. And they've had them for so long.
And they haven't been good.
And they've not been good. Forever. And now they're finally kind of okay. People are like, oh yeah, let me get my Khorne boys.
I think you're onto something with that. Well. We're at time here, so look. Next week, no show. I'll be traveling back. I think you'll be traveling somewhere. Somehow.
I'm in Disney because it's Labor Day.
Oh, nice. World or land?
No, Disneyland. I've got a friend. My friend Chris from England is flying in, and he's not been to Disneyland before, so we're driving down.
Oh, fun!
And doing Disney.
That's fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, awesome. So, folks, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Anything else, Steven?
No. Amen. Have fun playing games.
Yeah.
Good luck to everyone going to Nova. I hope you get to play Zach and beat him.
Yeah, I would love to be beat by everybody going to Nova. That would be great. Awesome. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye bye.